Ferrari didn't lose the podium, they handed it over, willingly. What if I told you the critical mistake wasn't when Hamilton pitted, but why he did? While fans saw slicks go on at lap 42, what they missed was the coded radio silence before. Just seconds earlier, Lewis questioned tyre temps and rain radar. No reply, then, out of nowhere, box. But here's the twist. The data shows the Inters still had life, and Hülkenberg, he stayed out one more lap. And that's the lap that buried Ferrari's Sunday. Hamilton's own words tell the story. It's like building a wall and knocking it down. This wasn't misfortune, it was a calculated call from a team flying blind, literally. Their GPS failed after lap 10, and they were guessing Hamilton's position. A Ferrari team guessing during a rain-hit Silverstone? That's not strategy, that's sabotage via incompetence. 4 snaps per corner, not instability, insistence. Lewis called it snapping, as if the Ferrari itself was rebelling. But dig into the telemetry from Sector 2 and you'll see something chilling. The rear-end instability increased after the first pit stop, and not slightly. The yaw rate spiked 18% compared to FP2 baseline. That doesn't happen by chance. What if that snappy balance wasn't an accident, but a response? Insiders whispered all weekend that Hamilton had overruled pre-race balance suggestions. His version of the car? Aggressively low ride height, soft rears, biased brake migration. A setup built for heroics, but in changeable conditions, it becomes a psychological test. The team let him run with it, then left him alone when it started to bite. You're kind of in no man's land, Lewis said. Not just about the handling, but the trust. That's not poor engineering, that's a power struggle. He wasn't chasing Hülkenberg, he was being dragged into the open. Lap 35. Hamilton dives on Stroll, the crowd erupts, but behind the cheers, the telemetry screamed something else. His brake bias suddenly shifted 1.7% rearward mid-corner. Not driver input, automated delta response. That means Ferrari's system anticipated late braking and adjusted without consent. Why? Because the moment he cleared Stroll, he became visible. The hunter, exposed. Now the world would watch him reel in Hülkenberg. But here's the trick. His tires were already on the edge, soaked in temperature from dirty air and failed cooling logic. The chase was doomed before it began. Why didn't Ferrari tell him? Why send him on the undercut knowing the Inters were still superior for another lap? Simple. They needed proof that Hamilton's call wouldn't work. Not support, evidence. As he put it, you try to build confidence, then it just collapses. No data, no accountability, total control. When Ferrari admitted their GPS system failed after lap 10, the paddock barely blinked. But look again, that failure gave them exactly what they needed, the power to make blind calls, deflect blame, and control the narrative. Here's what really happened. Without positional data, Ferrari couldn't triangulate Hamilton's true gap to Hülkenberg, or so they claimed. Yet radio logs revealed they still had full sector timing, meaning they knew enough to wait. They just didn't, because in that moment the team could hide behind the fog. We didn't know where Lewis was. Translation? We acted without consequences. And it worked. Hülkenberg stayed out, got clean air, perfect temps, and extended the overcut. Hamilton? He emerged behind Leclerc. Again. GPS failure didn't cost them a podium. It shielded them from admitting they never wanted one. The broadcast ended before the warning, but the data didn't lie. On lap 46, just after Hamilton's final off-track excursion, Sky Sports played a fragment of his radio. "This car is so hard to drive, snappy like crazy." But the final sentence was edited out. Team insiders confirmed what came next. "We've got to stop this cycle. Next year starts now." A coded message. Not frustration, a warning. Hamilton wasn't talking about just the car. He was talking about the relationship, the dynamic, the loop of instability disguised as progress. He just lost 3.2 seconds from a rear slide at turn 3. The delta shattered, but instead of silence came strategy instructions, dry tires, undercut attempt. It wasn't coordination, it was decoy, because when Hamilton said no man's land, he wasn't lost. He was isolated, made to look like the problem. While the team hid behind technical limitations, Ferrari didn't just misread the race, they wrote him out of it. The podium wasn't stolen, it was handed off to protect an illusion. Let's strip away the fairy tale. Nico Hülkenberg's first podium in 239 races wasn't just a feel-good moment. It was a shield, a distraction, the kind that makes fans cheer loud enough to ignore the screen beneath. Here's what the numbers say. Hülkenberg stopped 1 lap after Hamilton. Same window, same tires, but his outlap delta was 4.6 quicker. That's not just tires, that's clean air, perfectly primed track temp, and no traffic. Ferrari could have mirrored it. Hamilton asked for more laps. Instead, they boxed early, knowing he'd hit the crossover point too soon. That left him skating, oversteering, and exposed, because the real threat wasn't Nico, it was the narrative that Hamilton, in the rain, could erase Sauber, Alpine, and Aston Martin. Despite the chaos Ferrari handed him, that would have been a statement, and Ferrari silenced it. When a team principal smiles after failure, it means someone else is about to be blamed. Post-race, Frederick Vasseur called it blind strategy and blamed the GPS. But watch closely, no tension, no panic, just a steady, rehearsed tone. Because this wasn't post-mortem, it was positioning. Sources inside Maranello say internal reviews were already circulating before Hamilton crossed the line. One engineer reportedly told Italian media, off the record, "We knew the call would hurt Lewis, but it aligned with the simulations." The translation? We had the numbers, and we still did it. Vasseur's real move wasn't technical, it was political. By admitting GPS failure only after the race, he absorbed heat just enough to protect leadership, while planting doubt in Hamilton's instincts. It's a classic power play. Engineer chaos, then present yourself as the calm in the storm. But what happens when the storm remembers, when the driver turns the setup into a weapon? He didn't just lose a podium, he lit a fuse. Lewis Hamilton walked away from Silverstone without looking back. No celebratory handshake, no long gaze at the crowd, just a quick word. I know what I don't want in next year's car. That wasn't feedback, it was a manifesto. In those 52 laps, Hamilton gathered data, not just telemetry, but psychological signals. Who backed him, who hesitated, who vanished on the radio when the car snapped in turn 3. He knows now that the Ferrari he's driving isn't built for his style, and maybe not even for his success. And that changes everything, because from now on, every session, every comment, every lap will be a campaign for control. He will shape the 2026 car not as a passenger, but as architect, because only one question remains: can Ferrari afford a Hamilton they can't contain? The war has started, not on track, but inside the red walls of Maranello, and we'll be here to decode it. Every signal, every silence, every betrayal. Like, subscribe, join the resistance. The truth won't be televised, but here, it gets decoded. Alright, now I want to hear from you. Do you think Hamilton was being brutally honest about the SF-25? Or is this just part of the game to push Ferrari in his direction? Was Vasseur's reaction genuine or damage control? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who really understands this car better, Lewis or Leclerc? And if you're tired of sugar-coated F1 coverage, hit that subscribe button. This is where we break the silence.